There was a woman, I just like walked past her. I was maybe walking to an actor. She grabbed me, she pulled me in close, and she just whispered in my ear, "Stay black."
Zhailon Levingston is a Louisiana-raised storyteller, director, and activist, a multi-hyphenate artist. He made history as the youngest Black director on Broadway.
I love continuing to figure out as a human and an artist, what else does it mean to be Black outside of being a color?
But to see Cats, Jellicle Ball, co-directed by you, was an amazing experience. I couldn't believe just the whole ballroom culture was on Broadway.
But I am trying to avoid a kind of failure of integrity that once I go through a thing, I want to be able to recognize myself in the mirror. If you feel like there's a big leap you want to take, that is the universe telling you it's time to take it. When you jump off of that cliff, you will either grow wings or you will be caught by the net.
And the category is The Real Roots and Resilience, talking about Cats, the Jellicle Ball.
I know that's right. Yes, that was good. And the category is...
Can we get a fan? Can we get a fan?
Can we get a fan?
This is in the bloopers.
But can we talk about... And the category is... Oh, there we go. And the category is Tony Award winner
Zhailon Levingston.
Hey! Yeah!
Didn't you like sharing like audio on the thing?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing though?
Yeah.
He actually won?
Yeah, I can't say I can't believe it. I can believe it because the show was amazing. You know, you have to see it if you haven't seen it. It's amazing. You know, he reimagined, you know, the original Cats and integrated ballroom culture that originated in Harlem into this play. So if you haven't seen it, please see it. It's a Tony Award winning musical.
When you say he reimagined Harlem, and what do you mean in that way?
Reimagining, telling his own narrative.
Okay.
Right? And it's a collective.
Cats.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So of
Because
course.
you say you reimagined Harlem, so I was just like...
No. I said reimagined the play, the original Cats musical.
Okay, gotcha.
So he reimagined it, kind of like a remix.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay.
And then adapted it to make it as far as like integrating ballroom culture into that. So you have to see it to really understand and appreciate how brilliant the show was.
I love how he's giving flowers to the legends who were part of Cats, and now they can do it in for their own community.
Mm-hmm.
Now that was a tearjerker right there, you know?
Yeah. Most of the actors have never, you know, acted on Broadway ever, which is a wonderful opportunity for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Just a door opener for so many who are trying to not just be seen, but contribute to and pay homage to, you know, the giants.
Absolutely. Talk about equity and inclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That part. It was bold, creative, and innovative.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it also acknowledged the memory of those who actually were there. Because, I mean, you know, we started hearing about, Vogue, like mainstream because of Madonna.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who were doing the Vogue in that video were not necessarily the people
or look
in the
like,
ballroom.
Right.
Or look like, that's where I was going with that. So to pay homage while the legends are still alive, I mean, you know, there's people who've passed, but, you know, to say this is how all this ballroom culture and let's just say also pop culture, very influenced by Black and brown queer folk. And it started there, you know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just, I never felt like people mentioned how it was people who were kicked out of their homes and society who decided to make homes for themselves the various mothers, and I have one of my favorite humans, Bishop, who just take care of kids, the family, the kin family that you make, and not necessarily the one that you're born from.
So it's a family that's chosen.
They made homes
chosen
amongst the
family.
community they built from the ground up.
Right.
Sorry, I was just shouting out Bishop Holly. I love Bishop Holly, but you create these a different home. Yeah. So,
And you mentioned Madonna in Vogue, and there's always been a lot of controversy about that, but I truly believe that she used her white privilege to bring it on the platform for everyone, and she did have some people of the ballroom culture in her Vogue video, like Jose Extravaganza, for example. And I feel that was wonderful. Like she's white, she can do that,
Yeah.
If a black person did it at that time in 1990, would it have been that well received?
That's true.
Probably
That's true.
not.
That's
So,
true. And I wasn't shading Madonna. It was just kind of people.
No, we love Madonna. Thank you.
We love you. Very close. But yeah, no. I totally, and I think that's the beautiful allyship in a sense. I mean, we could always be better, but if you can use your privilege to bring something to, to the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what's cool about, this production is we're giving flowers to those who were there.
Yeah.
Naming the names, and honoring. We talk about ancestry a lot. And it doesn't have to be a blood thing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, the chosen family.
Absolutely. And what I love about, Zhailon is that he mentions in the interview, stay black, that this was a word of advice that he received, stay black. So regardless of what he's doing and directing and providing, his artistry to the world, he's staying black. And I love that. He's not getting whitewashed. He's not being influenced by, other European lenses or narratives. Like he's staying true to who he is. So there's true authenticity in what he's providing to us. And we're staying black here. Because we are.
I think T.S. Madison says, says, I'm black. And she went on.
And proud.
Yes.
Yeah, and we are visible. Has anyone here ever been to like a ball before?
I haven't. I've gotten invited.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't an opportune time for me.
Yeah.
I usually go to, clubs too, because I have a lot of friends who, do drag and stuff. So I would go see them, but it's not necessarily a ball. No, it's a drag,
Okay.
show. Yeah. But my theology is a womanist theology influenced by queer, Black, brown women, Black women. And I lift up all those who loved me and taught me how to see the Bible in a different way. While we're in Pride Month too, but always Pride should be year long. But yeah, just wanted to put that out there.
But I don't want to go far off into the deep end, but we're going to keep it real. People who have experienced a different expression of themselves outside of the gender normative way of looking at others have always been here.
Yeah.
They have always been on planet Earth. There's nothing new under the sun. So anybody who had expressed their love or romantic attraction in different ways, and the expression, whether through dance, music, whatever, it's not just a 20th century concept. It's not a 21st century concept. That is a spiritual energy. And I strongly believe that there have always been same-sex attracted people on this planet. Always. But from this context of like the arts, I think they're given the creative outlet to express themselves without feeling like they needed to be codified. So we see it more presently in the way art is displayed.
I was just gonna say, I believe that as well too. It's always been here.
Yeah.
But it's more present today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more of an environment there's spaces where that is given permission to be and express itself freely.
Yeah. And no one's afraid.
Yeah.
And making the invisible visible with pride. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I tell people all the time, you are not the problem. It's society that has a negative view, or the prejudice or the discrimination that has the problem.
The way they interpret.
And the
is
way they
tainted.
interpret.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But let's be honest, like,
Yeah.
even straight people, heterosexual people ain't got it together.
Right.
Yeah.
So what makes you so special? You're judging
and
somebody
they will never
else.
admit that.
Yeah,
but they point out
the
flaws
disturbing part for me is like
about other people.
There's so much stuff going on in straight people life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
right.
For me,
listen, y'all ain't got no room to judge nobody on nothing.
Like, who doesn't like to hear good music and to dance?
Yeah.
Like, I grew up going to a lot of balls.
And this is very spiritual and magnetic
love
for
the
us
music.
as African people.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
it's who we are.
Yeah.
You know, so like to say you cannot connect with this is just blasphemy.
Right.
You know.
Or you can't change cats into that. Like, how dare you?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody did. And
somebody
it's doing brilliant.
Yeah.
And
what about it?
Yeah. And I did that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I did it.
Right.
Special shout out to Andre DeShields.
Yay.
Yeah.
It was there, you know, who's, you know, I love the intergenerationality. Is that a word? You know?
Yeah.
No, we that's
We're
right.
coining phrases.
We're coining the phrase that this production also promotes. You know, while we're talking about it, I want to just want to lift up somebody. I don't know. She's not a physical ancestor for me per se, but she's a spiritual ancestor for me. Mama Marsha P. Johnson. You know, who I don't know, when I think about her, I don't know why, but I just wanted to lift her name up in the space. And there's so many other, you know, ancestors, but she is the one who, I don't know, something about her really touched my heart. And I think of her as an ancestor. I don't know why, what our connection is, but also Audre Lorde.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Brilliant.
James Baldwin.
Bow down.
Yes.
You know,
James was something else.
Fierce.
Yeah.
He was something else.
No. And there's so many, you know what I mean?
Talk about a read. He could read you
Yeah.
upside down, you know. Okay.
There are many, and again, I'm not trying to just, you know, act like I know everything, but I'm just talking what's real for me, and the story that the ancestor that has touched me and you know, keeps me accountable whenever I'm on the pulpit. Remember to stand up for me. Remember, you know. So yeah, just wanted to share that.
I also want to shout out Atoro Lyons and Amari Wiles. They actually were supposed to be interviewed by us, but because of their schedule, they're super busy. But a shout out to you. They choreographed, you know, Cats on Broadway. So, and they're amazing choreographers and dancers. So shout out to you guys. Hopefully we can get you soon on the show. Yeah, that one is hard.
I did it. Here we go.
All right, so in case you're wondering, the clean and chemical-free candles we only carry in our studio, they are from one of our proud sponsors, Modern Origins. When was the last time you truly paused? Not to scroll or plan, but just to breathe. At Modern Origins, they truly believe small rituals can make a big difference for your mind and your spirit. The handcrafted intention candles, bath soaks, and wax melts are made with clean ingredients, essential oils, and crystals designed to help you reconnect, release stress, and create moments of calm in your day. They're absolutely perfect for soaking in the bathtub after a trying day, having a quiet moment in meditation, journaling through a breakthrough, and even while watching our podcast. Modern Origins helps you turn self-care into something sacred. Visit modernoriginsus.com to build your ritual and get 15% off your first order with code CALM15. That's CALM15. modernoriginsus.com, because your healing deserves intention.
So, yeah, I grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana, and my mom is a DJ and MC and was on the radio for most of my life.
That's so dope. Oh my God.
And so even though she wasn't a like artist per se, like
Mhm.
I grew up in a house where people really appreciated, music and culture, and
Mhm.
she took me to the theater.
Mhm.
And I think that when she was applying for elementary schools for me to go to, there was a school called South Highlands, which just happened to be the best elementary school in the city.
Wow.
But it also was a performing arts school. So I tested for it because my mother, a single mother, was just trying to get me in the best school that she could get me into.
Mhm.
And the lucky blessing of that was that it was also a performing arts school, so it was able
Mm.
to nurture that part of me once it started to emerge, and I didn't have to go find people to say that like this is okay for you to like to sing, for you to like to dance, for you to you know want to watch The Sound of Music or audition for the
Yes.
fifth grade play.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's how, I got introduced to theater more stereotypically was in elementary school, which was really, really early. And then in fifth grade, I did the fifth grade play.
Yeah.
It was Aladdin, and I played Aladdin.
That
It was
is
a
so
short
cool.
You played
That
Aladdin?
is amazing.
Wow.
Aladdin.
All right.
Yes.
And you know what? I mean, this school was like really white.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Mm.
and though there was black people that were there, it was Louisiana and all the things that come with that.
Mhm.
But I will say two big things that I think imprinted on me pretty early in
Mhm.
terms of what's possible in the theater. I remember in kindergarten watching the fifth grade play and it being The Jungle Book. And I remember
Yeah.
that the two, Mowgli and Baloo, the boy and the bear, they were
Mhm.
played by two black students who were fifth graders at that time. And so I saw at a very, very early age two people who looked like me, in a show,
Wow.
which I think was important. And then by the time I got to fifth grade, I was playing Aladdin, and my best friend who was black was playing the genie, and
That's so
and
cool.
it just I never had that thing where I couldn't imagine that we were supposed to be wherever we wanted to be,
Mm.
uh, which doesn't necessarily make the journey easy, but it is helpful when the imagination gets ignited at a very, very early age. And so anyway, I grew up doing theater in the community, church theater, community theater, musical theater, school theater, and went to school for performance and left Shreveport like month after graduation, maybe even earlier than that, to attend the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in Los Angeles and got a degree in musical theater.
Wow.
So that's kind of how I went from Shreveport to somewhere else. And then from there, I graduated and pretty soon after moved to New York.
Wow. That's amazing.
It
What an
really
amazing
is.
journey. Yeah. And what part of New York are you in right now?
I live in Harlem.
Harlem.
Okay. Oh, yay.
Yay. Do you like
Yeah,
Harlem?
love Harlem. And I've lived in Harlem like on and off multiple times. I'm celebrating my 10th year in New York.
Wow.
Um,
It's beautiful.
so that's been its own journey. But yeah, I live on 127th now with my partner.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
Amazing.
I have a question about that. Considering Harlem's staple, like the Harlem Renaissance for arts and um, social justice, and taking arts and transforming it into taking a stance against social movements and social justice. How do you feel about landing in out of all places? Think about it, Harlem. Like, I don't believe in coincidences.
Yeah. I think it was my idea of what New York was.
Mm.
You know, however limited that view was. When I thought of New York, I thought of Harlem.
Mhm.
And so to me, it has always felt like the center of the city, even if it
Mhm.
isn't. But in my view, my lens is that it's the heartbeat. What's I think magical about New York and magical about the cultures that are all over the city is that there's many different heartbeats that are making the city run. But what really inspired me as a young person was like the idea of being able to make in the same neighborhood that James Baldwin
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
made things in, and to be able to walk past the church that Baldwin might have gone to or did go to at any moment be encountering history, and to just believe that like those winds I could ride the backs of as well, and to just have faith that um those ancestors have something to do with my journey as well. And Harlem is just such a like you just feel it. You walk outside, the National Black Theater is here. Um, um, you walk outside and you just smell the history, and it's incredible.
Wow.
And I couldn't think of a better, more fitting, more harmonious place for you to be. Yes, especially with your messaging and your story. So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
And,
course.
I grew up in the 80s, and in Harlem is different from me growing up to now.
Of course.
So your work sits at the intersection of art and meaning. When did you begin to see your work as something that could influence how people think, how people feel, and just ultimately see the world?
Mm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember so I graduated college in 2015.
Mm.
And in 2014, I would say that like where the Black Lives Matter movement was at that time was really starting to like catch my attention as a young person.
Mhm.
And I remember just saying to myself that like, oh, we're inside of a historical moment. We're
Yeah.
inside of a moment that if I have children, they will go to school and they will learn that something was going on in 2014. Um, and they will ask if they're anything like me, what were you doing?
Mm.
What was it like? What was going on? And I remember very consciously in my mind being like, I don't want to be able to just tell them I was just doing, jazz squares or, the laughs, which, are cool in their own way. But I wanted to be able to say I was part of, a community, a movement of artists who were trying to respond to the time. And so that's kind of how that consciousness started to emerge in me as it relates to my role as an artist. Um, I think that, I grew up in a Christian household in the Southern Black Baptist Church and with a kind of like king theology because of who was the pastor at my church. And so I kind of always had an understanding of where movement and advocacy sat in the trajectory of how I even get here
Mm.
as a Black man in this country. But I hadn't quite figured out what that means for me as an artist, and what does that mean for the types of stories, and what does that mean in terms of legitimizing my own tools as relevant to the cause. And I think that was a big like aha moment was like, oh, I have things that I use. I have tools, I have abilities, I have techniques. I'm developing a craft. And what if I just like really lean into that? And I think that was around the same time I was reading a lot of Baldwin. And one of the things that really inspired me was this idea that he kn- he knew to lean into his vocation
Oh.
No.
as a way to address the times. And that the answer was not to jump out of my vocation, but the answer was to like double down on my vocation. That like actually the way to face this moment as an artist is to really just be an artist with a capital A. And so
Wow.
everything that I did was about making sure that I had time to engage with being an artist with a capital A, so that as life was happening, the politics of the day were happening, as I'm encountering names like Alton Sterling and Philando Castile and Trayvon Martin and, Sandra Bland. And as this is happening, I'm giving myself no other choice but to filter it through my tools and my point of view as an artist. Because that was, I don't know. It felt like that's what, those are the tools I had and have. Probably have other tools as well at this point. But if I'm just thinking about who I was as a, 20-year-old or a 19-year-old, it was like, okay, lean into the vocation. And then I think that's one way of getting at the question, was like first understanding that I could have an impact for myself and for my children one day by just deciding to live an artistic life. And then I think, now that there has been some sort of platform that I have established and that there's work and precedent that people can pull from, and it's been interesting to just be able to receive the ways in which other people are impacted by the work. But I think what's most gratifying is the ways in which people are impacted by the process. And I try to keep a very open and transparent process. My rooms are always open. And what impacts me the most is when people, report back that they didn't know we could do it like that. Didn't know we could advocate on that level. That didn't know we could, and that we could still do, it with joy and fun and laughter and all of that. I don't know if that answers the question.
No, it definitely does.
Yeah,
And
that was
it's such a
really
great, nuanced, discussion. As far as your artistry, I look at you as an architect. Like, you have such a strong ability, not only just being a director, but you also you're an actor, you're a singer, you are a songwriter, right? And it's just, you have so many tools that you provide. Tell me a little bit about, with all of that experience, how deeply have you influenced, people of color?
Oh, I mean, those are just the people I want to work with so
Okay.
much.
Yeah.
I find us to be the funniest, the cutest, the most talented, the most interesting.
Creative.
You know what I mean?
definitely
It's like,
creative and resilient.
I don't feel like that's really a hot take. I feel like history has proven that point.
And probably our
You
lived
show
experience.
me, right? You show me someone comparable to Toni Morrison,
Yeah. Okay.
who, is not a
Wait,
woman of color.
Uh-huh.
You show me someone comparable to James Baldwin. You show me someone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we've already done that. And
Yeah.
I believe firmly, and my crown has been bought. All I have to do is wear it. And so
I love that.
yeah, I find our rooms to be the best rooms to be in. And I find our rooms to be the most open and welcoming rooms to people who aren't necessarily of our experience.
Yes.
Right. And I love continuing to figure out, as a human and an artist, what else does it mean to be Black outside of being a color? What does it really mean? And all of the depth of that Blackness is so, it's so inspiring to me. I remember I was in a rehearsal room once, and there was a woman who was on the team as a kind of cultural consultant. And I just like walked past her. I was maybe walking to an actor, and she grabbed me and she leaned, and, she pulled me in close, and she just whispered in my ear, "Stay Black."
Stay
Cool.
Black. Yeah.
How'd you feel about
And
that?
Yeah.
she
Stay
said,
authentic, right?
and immediately followed up with, like, "You're not doing anything wrong. I just want you to stay. I see you, and stay Black." And when that happens, it's like, you're seeing something much deeper than just how cute my melanin is.
Right?
An entire operating system
Yeah.
Yeah.
that is Blackness that must be protected. I don't even know what question I'm answering. I'm sorry.
So I actually want to say something. I love how you distinguish your activism and everything with a capital A. that intersection. I think that is such a cool concept. Please, if you haven't already, coin it, put it as a like a learning what do you call it when you have like a tool, like like a formula, right?
Yeah.
No, but
Mhm.
seriously,
Mhm.
because that intersection is so important. I feel like talking to you, I'm talking to one of like how you just stated, when we look back and my grandkids are looking and learning about this in their social studies or history class, they're going to be like, wow, what when the world was going on. I'm talking to one of the modern day artists that have ushered in our modern Harlem Renaissance. Really, that's what it feels like.
That would be a cool thing if that happened. That's cool.
We're in it, babe.
I don't
We're
We're
in
in
it.
that
it.
feels
We're in it.
it's so hard to receive that because I really am just trying to do my little work.
Yep, and that so were they. So were our ancestors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't they saw from what I've read and my impression of understanding, they saw the assignment and was directly in it. So they couldn't necessarily look at it from our view yet, but they just hoped we would understand the assignment too and get the messages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my next question. You created Words on White early in your journey.
Mm.
What
Mhm.
did that experience teach you about the role that art can play in shaping conversation?
Yeah. Thanks for that question.
Mhm.
So Words on White really was a direct response to the death of Alton Sterling and Philando Castile.
Mm.
Mm.
And which obviously came after a string of other murders. Um, but one of them from Louisiana, I'm from
Mm.
Louisiana, getting this like national prominence. I remember I was at this point, I had only been in New York for a few months. I was living in an apartment with 5 other people. I was sharing one room with one of my good friends. We
Mm.
had 2 mattresses on the floor. And I remember like feeling like this thing is getting closer. Whatever this is that's happening,
Mm.
this kind of a violence in this moment and the movement preceding it is getting closer to us. This isn't just a thing on our phone. This isn't just
Hmm.
a thing that our parents are dealing with or have dealt with. Like it's coming. And I remember my friend at the time, still my friend, love her so much. She leaned over and she was like, Zhailon, what are we going to do about this? And I remember being like rendered speechless because I really had no clue. Like I was, and I can talk and I didn't have anything to say. And I just was like, I don't know. And I rolled over and went to bed. And it was like divine deposit that I was able to wake up and articulate, at least for me. Okay, here's a problem that I can articulate.
Mm.
Right now, I'm a part of a generation that doesn't know how to speak to this moment.
Mm.
And if I don't know how to speak to it, then at least maybe 1,000 other people don't know how to speak to it. And I'm an artist and we have to
Mhm.
know how to speak to it. And I remember being like, well, there's been artists who have had to speak to moments like this before. What
Mhm.
did they do? And then Words on White kind of was born out of me trying to actively resurrect text and language from the mouths of Black artists from all types of genre of work from the 20th century on who had to speak to the moment. And I knew, you know, one small theater down way downtown off Broadway. I knew the man who was managing that theater at the time, and I knew he would let me, you know, put on some kind of show. I had just enough friends to cast it. So
Mm.
like I cast it with literally the only artist I knew at the time in the city and you know put things out on social and the idea was to give them the words of Frederick Douglass, James Baldwin, Lauryn Hill, Kendrick Lamar,
Mm.
um and just say the words. And instead of having, a traditional talk back, I decided to roll out a 25-foot long canvas
Mm.
and throw a bunch of markers on the canvas and have the audience bum rush the stage and just attend to this canvas. Whatever you got, whatever you received, attend to the canvas. I didn't really know what was going to happen by doing that outside of like, that's a kind of cool way of, buttoning this moment is to have this kind of physical artistic expression.
Mm-hmm.
But what was so beautiful was when I was watching this moment happen, you would have like a 16-year-old Black girl and a 50-year-old Black man on their knees
Mm.
with markers, like figuring out how they are responding to this material, looking up, catching each other's eyes, and then starting a conversation in that space.
Wow.
And that's when I was like, that's the space artists make.
Mm.
We make that space. So everything that I just did was just an excuse to get that space to be made.
Mm.
And so what was supposed to be just like a one night only event called Words on White
Mm-hmm.
ended up becoming something that I continued as a kind of like social campaign with my collaborators. And we would go do this same kind of activation in Central Park and in churches
Wow.
and at stage doors and, just all around the city. And that was kind of in a weird way, my back doorway into the industry more broadly, because the commercial industry as well at that time was like, how do we talk about what's going on? What's it? And then there's this kid over here who's like showing up in the atrium outside of the Lion King, rolling out a 25-foot long canvas
That's so cool.
and making the
Interesting.
actors engage with the moment that's happening. And yeah, so we did that for a while. And a lot of what I take with me in my advocacy work today, I'm the artistic director of an arts advocacy organization called the Unheard Theater Project. And then a lot of my work that I do for Broadway Advocacy Coalition, which I'm now the president of the board. A lot of that kind of community that I was able to galvanize around this work was started with Words on White. And so even though I don't really do it anymore, I still use a lot of the technology that we developed in our
Wow.
activations.
That's so awesome.
That's amazing. Wow. And you're so accomplished and you're like 20 years old. Like it's just like, wow, you're so young.
Well, I was you.
Okay. You have so much more to do. You're so young. Take full advantage of that and staying Black. I love that advice.
Mhm.
Right? That's why we stay
Stay young,
Black
gifted,
here.
and Black.
Okay?
Black.
Huh? What was that?
That was the spirit. It was like, hey,
Okay. Yeah.
You're also gifted.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you describe yourself as I heard in an interview, multi-hyphenated artist. That's the first time I've heard that, and I love that. An industry that often encourages people, to stay in one lane, right? How do you embrace that range and stay Black?
Yeah, one of the things that I told myself when I was trying to make it here in the city when I first showed up, and I've returned to now recently, is that just I'm in the service of story under the direction of form.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to tell a story, and sometimes I need to tell it as a director. And sometimes I need to tell it as a writer. And sometimes I need to tell it as an actor. And sometimes I need to tell it as whatever. I pay my rent telling stories as a director. But there's something that feels really holistic about not labeling myself as one type of artist.
Okay.
And just being like, I'm in the service of story under the direction of form. And sometimes that story is about community. And sometimes that story is community. Like the actual act of community is the story itself. And I think that is the line that I'm always kind of dancing around is stories about community, and then also how to make community, and what is my relationship to a community at any one moment in my work.
I love how you just let us into your mind for a moment, right? How do you view these different lenses as you tell your stories, and which lens and hat you put on
Hmm.
as you are deciding what is the best angle for me to
Hmm.
be in so I could capture the story as I see it and directly provide the information to the audience that I am trying to reach. That's beautiful.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you.
So my next question is, it sounds like you take your responsibility as a storyteller to like the umpteenth level. Um, do you see that not just as a part of your creative identity, but how do you feel about potentially passing the torch? Because that lens that you just literally taught us is, I don't think I've ever heard of storytelling in that way.
Mhm.
Oh, how do I feel about passing the torch? I mean, I just think that if this whole journey is just about me, I don't think I would have what it takes to actually, you know, push through some of the difficulties that come with, the career that I'm in. That I actually have to be doing it for the larger we in some way. Even if that we is about like just making sure, directors who are inspired by my work or my process feel like they have access to me, feel like they
Mhm.
can reach out, feel like they can come and sit in my room. I always tell people my room is always open.
Mhm.
So much of the industry um, rides on a kind of secrecy and of, people not knowing how it all works.
Mm.
I think like one of the like simplest things that I can do as an advocate is just to be like, yeah, this is how this is working. This is how it goes. And
Mm.
you can decide whether or not you want to participate in that or
Mhm.
not.
Mhm.
But we should all have the choice and not have the choice made for us based on parties that don't want to tell us how it works. And so, on a really small level, I try to stay just accessible as a way of not even just passing the torch in a kind of like hierarchical, directional way, but in a kind of like cyclical,
Yes,
my
that's what I was
fire,
looking
Yes.
for.
Mhm.
That
my
torch of
fire
knowledge.
will dim sometimes. And
Mhm.
if there's someone over here who can light my own flame,
Mhm.
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 I can continue to do the work that I'm doing. So I'm really just trying to create this like way of being artists in the space where we can keep igniting each other. And I don't see it as like younger or older. Like
Mm-mm.
Mm.
I still feel like the torch is being passed to me from an older generation, and I feel like I am passing the torch to people who are coming up under me and vice versa. I think that sometimes that torch passing is going in a different direction. Sometimes it's about actually reaching back up to
Mm.
people who have felt like maybe my time has passed, and making sure that there's intergenerational opportunities in the rooms that I'm in
Mm.
to always be like, no, the torch is yours too. It's still yours. There's no final letting go until you've decided to let go of this torch.
Yes, I love that concept of passing a torch of opportunity, knowledge, acceptance. It's a beautiful concept. And I feel like even outside of your practice, right? We really, as a community, need to embody that. It shouldn't have to be, like you said, in a hierarchy. It's supposed to be cyclical, like you said. If it's my turn right now, I'm going to take it when I see there's someone else that's just as great or probably has better ideas for this particular story. I'm going to encourage them by, like you said, staying accessible. So you can encourage them and let them see themselves
Right.
as a multi-hyphenated artist too.
Yeah.
So that's so awesome. You're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are amazing. We're all amazing.
Yay. All right, fast forward. We have these wonderful hats because I saw this wonderful show last night. It was so good. I couldn't believe that just the whole ballroom culture was on Broadway. There's a difference for me, like off Broadway, but Broadway, it's a big deal
Yes, it is. The
for
capital
our
B.
culture. Yeah. Like respectfully respecting, Cats. I've seen the commercials throughout my childhood.
I know the music.
Didn't have enough money to see it, but that's okay. But to see Cats, the Jellicle Ball, co-directed by you, was an amazing experience, and I definitely want to go back. And that's a play and a show that you want to see with a group of friends.
Mhm.
I saw it by myself, but I was like, okay, I need to be on the stage. I need to be with friends. I
Right,
need to
we're
be.
going.
Janelle taught me how to use the fan. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no sense of coordination when it comes to that. However, I applaud you greatly. Magnificent job, and it takes a lot of courage. Andrew Lloyd Webber was on the stage as a judge. I didn't expect to see him there. Like, he is an icon in himself. Like, how does it feel to be a part of this wonderful Broadway show that just came on Broadway? Like, it's not like it was there for a while. Like, this is fresh for Broadway.
Mhm.
Yeah, we just opened a couple of nights ago.
Yeah.
Just said bye to my mom and aunt and cousins and stuff who came in town to watch it. So
Wow.
I feel proud of the work.
Mm-hmm.
I feel success for me, I define as integrity,
Mm-hmm.
because that's really the only thing I can measure artistically. Everything is so objective.
Yeah.
But I can measure my integrity with pretty accurate metrics. And one of the ways in which I articulate what I mean by that,
Mm-hmm.
that integrity, is coming through a process intact, whole,
Mm.
right? If you chop the legs of a chair off, is it really a chair anymore? It's out of integrity with itself.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it may be put back together again, but there's an ultimate failure there that, for me, I'm always trying to avoid
Mm-hmm.
as an artist, which isn't to say that I am trying to avoid failure, period, because I think failure is embedded in the artistic process. But I am trying to avoid a kind of failure of integrity that once I go through a thing, I want to be able to recognize myself in the mirror.
Mm.
And not just myself, but I want to be able to recognize my last name. And I want to be able to recognize, my grandmother's house. And I want to be able to recognize where I come from. And I want all of that to be intact.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be better. I want to be a better artist by the end of something, a better human, a better leader, a better citizen in the world. And what Cats the Jellicle Ball has given me is an opportunity to, yes, expand my imagination artistically and create with a large tribe of people this grand expression of queer joy, queer Black joy, of ballroom history and musical theater history. But it's also created this perfect masterclass for putting my own integrity through, right? Of making sure I do the thing I say And one thing, if I go back to like Stay Black,
Mhm.
there's so many moments
Mm.
of Stay Black in making that work happen.
Oh, yeah.
And from the actors, the creative team, the just like everyone involved,
Mm.
making sure that we didn't walk out there with our wigs on backwards. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I just feel pride, like real, like deep ancestral, as opposed to like,
Yeah.
s- commercial pride. Like we're selling tickets. Stuff like
Yep.
that's great.
Mhm.
And so pride that we were able to like stay Black
Yeah.
and that I was able to recognize myself at the end and become better.
Mm.
Like everyone who helped make the show happen made me better. And so I don't know what the one feeling that is attached to that. It's actually
Mhm.
many different complicated feelings.
Mhm.
Um, but that's what I'm sitting with right now is just like, wow, we not only pulled off this like artistic feat, but we also pulled off this feat of community that says that we won't be able to uphold our values in a commercial space. And we
Mm.
were able to do it. And I
Mhm.
feel really proud about that.
Were there moments where you struggled to stay Black in production or directing? Because I know you
All the time.
co-directed with
All the
Mr.
time.
Rausch. Am I pronouncing his name?
Bill Rao.
Bill
Yeah.
Rausch. Was there any like, oh well, like any like type of artistic conflict or
Code switching,
yeah, exactly. Difference of
Oh, I mean,
opinion and
there's always
masking.
difference of opinion.
mhm.
And I create both Bill and I do
Mhm.
this. I think is why we work well together.
Mhm.
Is we create a space where everyone is contributing to the idea, right?
Yes.
Like we're just pitching something out there,
Mhm.
and then our job to figure out when the best idea arises. And sometimes that comes from me, but
Mhm.
sometimes that comes from Bill, but sometimes that comes from the pianist.
Oh,
Sometimes
Oh.
that comes
cool.
from the actor. Sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the room is full of tension, creative tension all the
Mm.
Okay.
time. And so that never felt like a outlier to the process in any kind of way. Like that was very core. Like
Mhm.
I define directing as standing in a room publicly and failing as fast as you can. That is
That's
my
real.
Wow, yeah.
role
Mhm.
in the rehearsal room is to prove with my body and my imagination and my spirit that there is something past
Mm.
failure. That if you lean into where you just stepped in it, you might be able to make something that didn't exist before because of it.
Mm.
Mm.
And so there's that kind of tension all the time,
Okay.
but it's always counterbalanced with a kind of communal trust.
Mm.
Because the more you do that in front of people, the more trust you earn and the more trust you buy back from them. And the more they then build the
Mm.
courage to do the same thing.
Mm.
So that what once felt like, oh, did we have a bad day because that happened? Becomes like, are we having a good day if that doesn't happen?
Mm.
Everyone is on the same page around like the kind of like vulnerability and rigor and courage and
Mm.
selflessness and humility it takes to make something that's greater than yourself. Um, and there would, that's a complicated maybe way of saying, of answering the question of like, was there code switching? I think there's a code switching in every workplace in this country. I think to
Yeah.
just be alive, walking around.
Mhm.
And as a person who experiences neurospiciness, I am masked all the time.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like it's more like what was more extraordinary were like moments where I felt like I could unmask.
Mhm.
Because
Beautiful.
Mhm.
I feel, that's a journey that I'm on both in the work and outside of the work all the time. It's like how to create psychological safety while also protecting my own psychological safety.
That's the $1,000,000 question right there.
Yeah,
Seriously.
absolutely. Wow. This is a question as far as, the actors, and the acting was phenomenal. Did it take a long time for the actors to learn the choreography? So I'm like,
Some of them not.
yeah.
Some of every artist is different.
Yeah.
It took a
Mhm.
long time for us to develop it.
I bet it did.
Yeah.
I think it was more about like how long is it going to take you all to figure out what you want, more than it was. How long does it take them to learn anything? If
Okay.
anything, it's about like their grace and patience with us as a creative team,
Mm.
trying to be like, oh no, that's not it. Oh, can you try something else? Can you try something else? What if we did it this way? Okay, I know I said this yesterday, but actually I hate that idea. And so now it's this. And sometimes that happens within 24 hours of each other, and sometimes that happens within 5 minutes of the last thing I just said. So it they pick up things incredibly quickly, but more than what they pick up, they throw away things incredibly quickly
And that's
as
hard.
well.
Oh.
That's the process, is to just be able to like, yeah. One of my favorite authors, Kiese Layman, wrote a book called Heavy. And one of the quotes in the book is, actually, I don't think this is a quote in the book. Maybe this is just what Kiese has said, but he has articulated that revision is a spiritual practice. And if revision is a spiritual practice, then our company are a priest.
Ah.
Wow.
I like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I could see using that in therapy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm. We're therapists.
Yeah.
Well, I also I'll say this. I haven't really said this out loud to many people, but I also kind of feel like my job as a director in the room is to be a therapist for the characters that are being,
Mhm.
I could see that.
it's like this character is like, I have an issue,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just trying to get that character to talk about it
Express
and to
themselves.
see
Yeah.
itself and
Yep.
express itself and to try something differently. And I know nothing about therapy. I'm not saying that I'm actually doing that.
Have you ever been in
but
therapy?
Yeah,
I have been in therapy.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But very recently, I did not like grow up going to therapy, and I would not say that the majority of my adult life has been in therapy. Therapy is a
Mhm.
Right.
very recent, and even in its recentness, off and on thing in my life. Primarily because it took a long time for me to just really believe I was worth giving myself that time.
Oh,
Ooh.
wow. I love that.
I'm glad that you came to that conclusion. But to answer your question about I don't know if you already knew this, but the intersection of theater and therapeutic theater for folks who want to use that as an intervention, it really is a thing.
Oh,
So
no,
if you ever wanted
Drama
to get into
therapy.
that, it
Yeah,
really
drama
is.
therapy is a real
I took
thing.
a whole course on it when I
You
was
got
a
to be licensed
master's.
in that. It's a complicated
Yeah,
process.
but it's not impossible.
And
And there are trainings for reals.
are there any Black
No, but I was going to say
drama
partnerships are my
therapists?
thing. I do a lot of partnerships everywhere. That is my thing. So if you're ever
wow,
looking for a
Let's-
partnership, Dr. Posey, which is me,
And Dr. Nesbitt.
and Dr. Nesbitt
Hello.
would love to partner with you to bring that to the people who need it.
that's fascinating.
Even the people who are already artists, because I feel like they already express themselves to some degree that way. So I could so see that being so beneficial for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating. So
Yeah.
cool.
And it needs to be, something reimagined and culturally adapted for our population,
Absolutely.
because the drama therapists that are out there are predominantly white, or
Yeah.
probably all white.
Right.
And they have like their own certification and blah, blah, blah. But I feel like we need to start our own thing
Yeah, we're licensed.
that's specific
And we understand
for
how
us.
to do research and evidence based. So honestly, we could do whatever we want.
Absolutely.
Hey.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter. You're a professional in your own right with all these multi-artistry hats. You can do whatever you want. And have.
Gotta do the work. That's all.
It was also a pleasure to see Andre DeShields in your show.
Legend.
Yes,
Icon.
absolutely. I was just amazed. It's the first time I've ever seen him in person.
That's so cool.
So, there's an interview that I watched, and he talks about theater as more than just performance. He explained it as church, community, a form of worship and literacy. hearing that, like, what comes up for you when you hear that? Does it resonate with you?
Yeah, it
Mhm.
does. I mean, I think a lot about this idea of on earth as it is in heaven,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
that maybe our job is to work at creating the conditions to make that possible.
Ah.
So that then for me, in my vocation, in the rehearsal room,
Mhm.
where I'm literally building a world that never existed before,
Mhm.
I'm also secretly trying to investigate what, like, underneath everything I'm doing is actually this prompt of, is there another way to be in the world together?
Mm.
That's a cool thought.
Yeah.
You know, and that might not always be articulated, and
Mhm.
it might sometimes be articulated through, you know, something I say a lot, which is how we make is as important as what we make. Or I might not even say that, but I think underneath everything I'm doing in a room full of people is, can we create a way of being together that's different?
Mm.
And then we'll learn whether or not that different way of being together is better or not.
Mhm. Wow. Yeah. So what's next for you? You have this huge production.
Um,
I'm
I hope some rest. Seriously, please tell
rest.
me rest.
rest.
I'm trying to. Yeah.
You're a busy guy. They're like, "Oh, let me fit you in for an hour." I'm like, "Okay, sounds
Which
like
we
my life."
appreciate a
Yeah,
lot.
totally.
Yeah. I mean, my personality is kind of just busy, so, you know,
Mhm.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just is what it is. But I'm
Uh-huh.
not on a production contract right now, which is good
Oh,
for me.
okay.
And I'm just, you know, I'm
Chilling.
doing my advocacy work with
Mhm.
Broadway Advocacy Coalition, the Unheard Theater Project, taking meetings, in development on projects. But I hope with some of this time,
Mhm.
I'm able to really restore and recharge.
Good.
Yeah, that's important.
What would you say to people who might be a little hesitant to watching, Cats, the Jellicle Ball, because they may be like hardcore original Cats fans and like, oh, what is this y'all doing? Because you know,
That it's made by a hardcore original Cats fan.
Yay.
yeah,
So the more you know the material, the more you will know the material.
yeah,
Yes.
It's not me trying to correct something. It's
mm-hmm,
me just expressing this material through the lens and the filters that most interested me. And I think that a lot of people who really love the original Cats have come to seeing the show and
yeah,
have really felt like we have respected and honored the material.
yeah,
Conversely, a
mm-hmm,
lot of people who hate this material
mm-hmm,
have come into our show and left being like, I can't believe I had the time of my life here.
yeah,
And in some way, that's kind of remarkable in this time that we're living in, where it feels as if the world is always trying to push us into a kind of group think or a collective thought,
mm-hmm,
or say that if there is tension or conflict, then something bad has happened. And actually, what's cool about Cast the Jellicle Ball is that there's people who hate this material, there's people who love this material, there are people who've never seen this material ever.
mm-hmm,
There are people who love Broadway, there's people who love ballroom, there's people who
mm-hmm,
live in the intersection of both of those things. There's old people, there's young people, there's gay people, there's straight people, there's trans people, there's people of all different persuasions who are coming into this room and having a collective experience. And I think that's what's important, the collective experience
mm-hmm.
as opposed to the same experience.
Right. It's so inclusive.
Yeah.
For our young viewers who are watching, if there's any, words of advice that you would say, if a young boy or a girl or whoever, they may have an interest in drama and directing, what would you say to that young person?
Stay nerdy.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
You
f-
know,
Yeah.
stay whatever that weird thing is that you do, keep
Mhm.
doing that weird thing. Um, know as much as you possibly can know,
Mhm.
and don't know it before you start.
Ah.
Have both trains running. So be making things and learning things and making things and learning things and making things and learning things. It's not linear. And a lot of times I find that a lot of young people need to feel as if they've done all of this preparation before taking a big leap. But if you feel like there's a big leap you want to take, that is the universe telling you it's time to take it. And that when you jump off of that cliff, you will either grow wings or you will be caught by the net. That's what the feeling means.
Wow.
It doesn't mean that you know everything already. It means that you will know what you need to know when you do it.
Wow.
And I have one more question because I feel like so because it's ballroom and ballroom, think about like Vogue and how it's been Columbused by so many other cultures outside of the culture that it originated. What message might you have for those who identify as queer or trans and how big of a deal this really is culturally?
Yeah, I would just say that this platform is what ballroom deserves.
Yeah.
That so much of popular culture wouldn't actually be as cool as it is
Yeah.
if it wasn't for the underground cultures that create the vocabulary, the aesthetics, the cultural practices, the value systems. And so for us to, who was it? I think it was Junior LaBeija said on the yellow carpet opening night, is that actually ballroom has already been on Broadway. It just hasn't been pronounced on Broadway. And I think this pronouncement is what is really special, is to be able to say, no, all of this, that's ballroom.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I love that it normalizes it because, like, even with my two daughters, I will play a beat in the car and they're like, "Oh, what's that? Oh my God." Normalize the culture. It shouldn't be like, "Oh, what's that?"
Yeah.
No, "Oh, wow." My mom, too, when she was alive, love a good beat.
Yes.
So I love this.
On the ride here, so I'm very connected to my ancestors. And on the ride here, I was out loud just speaking to my Uncle John, because my Uncle John from New Orleans, he was a performer. He did drag. His name was Glenn Elliott. That was his stage name. So unfortunately, he passed in the early 90s, and he was my godfather and my great uncle, who's my grandmother's brother. I was like, I want you to be here today. Because honestly, if he was here, now my grandmother passed in her 80s. So he would have been in his 80s today.
Wow.
I think, wow, what could have that meant for him?
Yeah.
And people who are still alive in their 80s, right?
Yeah.
That have that experience of seeing this entire culture be now kind of brought home, as you were saying, pronounced, named correctly. So thank you. Thank you for everything
Thank
you
you
do.
so much.
Well, thank y'all. This is such a great conversation. And yeah, we do it for the future, but we do it for our ancestors as well. And every night we get to say the names and project the names out in the space of those architects of the form who are no longer with us.
Wow. Okay. All right, Zhailon, thank you so much for joining us today.
It was a pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
Fucking y'all, thank you so much.
Okay, keep in touch.
Thanks for coming to the show.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.